Imagine if Ford had built the electric future, then decided the real money was still in horse carriages. That is basically what Xerox did. Not with cars. With personal computers, the mouse, Windows, email, and the graphical interface millions of people still use today. Xerox did not just have a theory, it had working machines. Real machines, sitting on real desks, years before the Macintosh, years before Windows, and years before personal computers became normal in American offices. Inside a Xerox research lab in Palo Alto, engineers were already opening Windows on a screen, sending electronic mail, and printing digital documents on laser printers. This was not science fiction. This was the 1970s. And then, in 1979, Steve Jobs walked through the doors. He saw the future sitting right in front of him, but Xerox had already seen it too. Xerox paid for the lab. Xerox hired the engineers. Xerox owned the inventions. It even owned the future. It just did not know what to do with it. Decades later, Apple would become the first company to cross a market value of $3 trillion. Microsoft would put graphical computing on desks around the world. And Xerox, the company that had so much of it first, became a warning told in business schools. This is not a simple story about Apple stealing an idea. That version is too easy. The real story is more uncomfortable. Xerox opened the door, showed the world what it had built, and then failed to become the company its own invention demanded. Before Xerox became a cautionary tale, it was a giant. In 1959, the Xerox 914 copier changed American office life. Corporate America ran on paper, and Xerox became the machine in the middle of it. For a while, Xerox was so dominant that its name became a verb. People did not say they were making photocopies. They said they were Xeroxing something. That kind of success can make a company rich. It can also make a company blind. Because when one product makes you powerful, you start believing the future will always need that product. For Xerox, that product was paper. Paper going into a machine. Paper coming out of a machine. Paper moving through American offices by the truckload. So when Xerox created a research center in Palo Alto in 1970, the company wanted to understand the office of the future. But the future its researchers discovered was not built around paper. It was built around screens. Imagine walking into an office in 1973. Instead of a blinking cursor on a terminal, you see windows. Instead of typing strange commands, you move a mouse. Instead of waiting for a stack of printouts, your document appears on the screen almost the way it will look on paper. And instead of one machine sitting alone, the computers talk to each other across a network. It looked less like 1973 and more like 1995. That machine was called the Xerox Alto. The Alto was not a product ordinary people could buy. That point matters. It was a research machine, expensive, experimental, and never commercially available to the public. But conceptually, it was astonishing. A person could sit down at an Alto, create a document, see it on the screen, send it across a network, and print it. Today, that is ordinary. In 1973, it was almost unbelievable. PARC did not invent every piece from nothing. The mouse traces back to Douglas Engelbart and his team at SR1 in the 1960s. Other ideas came from universities, government research, and earlier computer labs. But PARC pulled the pieces together. It made them work as a system. It made the future visible as a machine sitting on a desk. And that is where Xerox faced the test that separates invention from power. In 1977, at a corporate event in Boca Raton, Florida, PARC showed Xerox executives the office of tomorrow: Alto computers, laser printers, networking, word processing, electronic mail. The executives watched documents move across screens. They watched messages move without paper. They watched machines connect to each other and print clean pages from digital files. Most companies would kill for a look like that. Xerox owned it, and many of the people in charge still did not know what they were looking at. That meeting may have cost Xerox the future, because PARC had shown a world where computers could reduce the flow of paper. But Xerox made its fortune from the flow of paper. That was the conflict at the heart of the company. Xerox was not too small to act. It was not too poor to act. It was not too stupid to act. It was too committed to being Xerox. A copier empire looks at a new technology and asks one question: how does this help us sell more copiers? But PARC's real answer was more dangerous. Maybe the future was not about selling more copiers. Maybe the future was about needing fewer copies. The future was sitting in Xerox's own building. They just did not recognize it. Then came the visitor who understood it immediately. In 1979, Steve Jobs and people from Apple visited Xerox PARC. Jobs was young, intense, impatient, and obsessed with making computers personal. He could look at technology and imagine what it would feel like in the hands of ordinary people. When he saw the graphical interface at PARC, it hit him hard. A computer did not have to be a cold machine waiting for typed commands. It could be visual. It could feel direct. You could point, click, and choose. Jobs did not see a corporate research project. He saw the next personal computer. That difference mattered. The myth says Apple simply stole everything from Xerox. That is not fair. Xerox allowed Apple to see the technology. Apple did not take the Alto, put an Apple logo on it, and sell it as the Macintosh. Apple's engineers still had to simplify it, redesign it, make it cheaper, and turn it into something buyers could understand. But the brutal part remains. Xerox showed Apple a door. Apple walked through it. Xerox stood there holding the keys. After the PARC visit, the ideas moved into Apple's Lisa project and then the Macintosh. The Macintosh, launched in 1984, turned graphical computing into a cultural event. Apple made the future feel personal. Xerox thought in systems. Apple thought in people. Then Microsoft spread graphical computing into the mass business world. Windows was not first, and it was not the purest version of the idea. But eventually, it put a mouse-driven interface in front of millions of workers. The world PARC helped prove became the world other companies monetized. And Xerox? Xerox did try. In 1981, Xerox introduced the Xerox Star, also known as the 8010 information system. The Star was impressive. It had a graphical interface, icons, folders, networking, email, file servers, and print servers. But it had a problem that can kill almost any revolution. Price. A single workstation cost $16,595. In 1981, that was more than many new cars. That was not a casual purchase. Not a machine for a small business owner who wanted to experiment. Not something a father brought home, put on a desk, and figured out on a weekend. It was a serious corporate system with a serious corporate price. And that is exactly how Xerox saw it. Xerox knew how to sell expensive office equipment to big organizations. But the personal computer revolution did not wait for purchasing departments. It moved cheaper. It moved faster. It moved through hobbyists, schools, entrepreneurs, small businesses, software developers, and eventually families. Xerox had built a high-end office system. The market was moving toward personal machines. That is why the Star is such a painful product. It was not stupid. It was not primitive. It was not a joke. It was too expensive, too controlled, and too tied to the way Xerox already understood business. Xerox brought the future to market like it was selling another copier system. Apple brought the future to market like it was selling freedom. Microsoft brought the future to market like it was selling a standard. That is the painful truth about Xerox PARC. The future did not arrive at Xerox as a rumor. It arrived as a working machine. It had the screen, the mouse, the network, the email, and the printer, the bones of the modern office. Steve Jobs understood it as a new relationship between people and machines. Bill Gates understood it as a platform. Xerox understood pieces of it, but not the whole meaning. Because invention is only the first test. The second test is courage. Courage to threaten your own cash cow. Courage to sell something your sales force does not understand yet. Courage to admit that the product making you rich today may not be the product that makes you relevant tomorrow. Xerox passed the invention test brilliantly. It failed the courage test. And once that happened, the future started leaking out. Through demonstrations, through research papers, through engineers, through Apple, through Microsoft, through Adobe, through 3Com, through every company that saw pieces of the PARC vision and built businesses around them. The market does not reward the company that was first in private. It rewards the company that becomes unavoidable in public. A prototype is not enough. A patent is not enough. A brilliant lab is not enough. A 10-year head start is not enough. If you do not turn the invention into a product people want, someone else will turn your insight into their empire. The greatest inventions do not always belong to the companies that create them. They belong to the companies willing to bet everything on them. Xerox invented much of the future. Apple made people want it. Microsoft made the world depend on it. And Xerox became proof that seeing the future is not the same as becoming it.